Hello and welcome to the CCAT Facilitator Prep session designed to prepare CCAT facilitators for the upcoming capacity building event. My name is Pam Jensen, and I am the Transition Improvement Grant Project Coordinator, and I'm joined here today with...
Hi, everyone. My name is Lisa Van Dyke, and I am the Evaluation Specialist for the Transition Improvement Grant.
Today's recording, we're going to share the purpose of the Community Transition Innovation Plan, known as the CTIP online tool. We'll provide an overview of the CTIP, deepen CCAT facilitator understanding of the CTIP, and also prepare CCAT facilitators in navigating through the data sections of the CTIP. The purpose of the County Transition Innovation Plan CTIP is to provide a structured framework for local county teams to enhance transition services and outcomes for students and youth with disabilities. CTIP is designed to support CCAT's ongoing work. The CTIP is designed to align with enhancement and continuous efforts of CCATs, to provide a structured framework to support teams in identifying, prioritizing, and addressing transition needs, and integrating CTIP into your ongoing work. It also provides a context for team discussions, which offers a common foundation and context for team discussions, facilitates productive, targeted conversations by providing clear indicators and priority areas that need attention. And the tool encourages collaboration and shared decision-making that helps break down those silos and can promote approaches in transition planning. It encourages data-based decision-making. The CTIP is to promote the use of data into the decision-making process. It helps teams analyze relevant data and ensures that decisions are made based on not assumptions, but grounded evidence that reflects on the actual students and youth within your community. It also assists teams in building a concrete plan, provides a roadmap for teams to develop actionable step-by-step action plans tailored to meet their local context, guides teams through setting realistic goals, necessary actions, and assigning those responsibilities of all team members, the timelines and resources. And then the result is clear: a measurable plan that drives progress and holds team members accountable for achieving transition outcomes. We just talked a little bit about the purpose of a CTIP, which you'll see at the top of this slide, but let's talk a little bit about its features and then how to log in and get started. The features of this tool are that the tool automatically saves your information, so you never have to worry about making sure you've saved it before moving on. And then also, it provides the note taker with areas to log the discussion. You'll see then the red arrows on this screen that show you where to log in if you already have an account, or if you need to create an account, you'll see the second red arrow, which shares that information. This slide shows what you will see when you create a new account. So you're simply going to complete the registration form for a new account. The team lead will create the individuals that are on their team by completing this form. You can complete the first name, last name, and email, and ask your teammates to complete the rest of the information. You'll also see on this slide the CCAT team members. This defines for the question, what is your job title related to this work? By utilizing this form, you can read the definitions of each team member and make sure that you're adding the correct information. This slide is a graphic of how to create your team. We ask that you complete a minimum of the team members that will be attending the capacity building event with you, but this is designed with a step-by-step of how to create in a team. So you'll see number 1, log in or create an account. 2 shows you the yellow box to click to build a new team. 3 shows the registration form that I just shared with you, making sure that you click the green button, add to this team. And 4 shows you how to edit the team. So after the information is in, if you need to edit the team or if you want to add additional members, click edit this team. Number 5 will show you to make sure that you add the member once you fill out the form. And then number 6 is more information if anything was added incorrectly. This is just a sample CTIP invite. This invite will go out to members once you have added them to a team. So make sure that they know to collect this information or to click on this information once they receive it. Editing a CCAT account is also needed at some points and times. So here's just directions on how to edit a team once you have individuals edited into your team, or also for team members to edit their account. Now let's dig into the CTIP. Within the CTIP, you're going to see on this screen that there is team resources, supporting documents, contact us, and our purpose under the Home tab. The tools within the CTIP are the database decision making, the CTIP ratings and reports, and the team tab. Log into the CTIP, I will see within my plans several different teams as I'm added to many. You'll see teams I lead, or teams I belong to, or teams that I created. For the purpose of this demonstration, we are going to just look at our YCOT team. If I am starting a new plan, I would click the button below that says Start a New Plan. Edit this team, you'll see in red here. And to get into the plan, we're going to click Edit. If at any point in time you are unsure where to go next, you can always click to the left, My Toolbox, and that will bring you back to this screen. So we're going to click into Edit. Edit will provide us with the information of all of our team members. Where we're going to focus today is on our team tabs. Database decision making, Lisa will go through in just a moment. We're going to now click into the blue tab, that's CTIP ratings and reports. Within the CTIP ratings and reports, you will see 3 different pillars: building an interagency team, collaboration and communication of support systems, and transition planning. Each one of these pillars has a video that will share more information about that tab. Clicking on the left-hand side, the blue plus button will give you the activities within the CTIP. All of these activities are based on either evidence-based, research-based, or promising practices, as well as local practices. The yellow resource tabs will give you information about that tab, adult practices, further research, also tools that can be accessed, and also reflection questions as you look at each one of these activities. Established means yes, our CTIP team does this, or no, we do not. If you choose no, you can add that to your plan. Each one of these tabs will also have a rating for the entire section of 1 through 5. Looking at the left-hand side, you'll see the implementation rating scale. You'll utilize that to conduct or choose these ratings. If we go down to the collaboration and communication of support systems, clicking again on this blue tab, you will see a drop down of 4 items. And then transition planning is our longest tab which includes clicking on this blue plus sign again, and you'll see that there's 8 different components there. Once this portion is completed and you determine which ones you want to add to your plan, we'll go back and choose 1 to 3 different areas that you want to start to focus on. We strongly encourage CCAT teams to focus only on 1 to 3 so that they feel they can accomplish those goals as well as bring them to fidelity. Action planning will only come up once you've completed the activity selection. Action planning then will bring over the activities that you determined to add to your plan. You'll see on this screen that we have a plan due, which are those actionable items needed for the team to complete the activity they chose. Study, thinking about the action steps and how they'll be evaluated. Then who will be responsible for this action item? And then summarizing your findings, dating your completed goal, and then 2 times per year, we'll ask you to do a progress rating. This progress rating is also based on a 5-point scale, looking at your activity progress ratings to your left. We do not require that you have a goal in each one of the pillar areas. You may have 2 in one area, you may have 1 in each area. That doesn't matter. It's really focusing on 1 to 3 different goals. Adult practices will ask you to complete a baseline. All of this will be done at the capacity building event. The adult practices is made up of 5 different components, 1 being diverse representation, 2, thinking about your established communication, 3, your mutually created commitments, sometimes known as norms, 4, team analyzing of data, and 5, roles and responsibilities. The last tab I'll show you is the Reports tab. Reports tab can show your action planning and any other reports you're looking for that you can share with school boards or maybe boards in which your agencies represent. And then the Team tab is an area where you can upload all of your data of information that you would like to share with your team. Next, I will turn it over to Lisa.
Thank you, Pam. I'm going to share my screen. So when we go into the CTIP, the first tab we're going to come up on to is the data-based decision making. Before we start making our plans and deciding which events to hold and working in subcommittees, we really need to know what is happening now. We need to know what is working and what is not working, and we do that by digging into the data. Database decision-making consists of compiling, viewing, sharing, and using data to assist in improving schools and particularly student outcomes, whether in school or post-school. Database decision-making grounds decisions in evidence. With evidence, educational professionals and stakeholders test assumptions, identify needs, and measure outcomes. Looking at the data helps you identify specific areas that are in need of improvement, choose a strategy that is designed and proven to impact this area, and then implement it. When implementing, you collect more data to look at and test your hypothesis to ensure that it is working. If it is not, you can check if you are doing it correctly, address barriers, etc. If it is working, you can broaden it to others and sustain it. Using evidence-based decision-making to achieve educational goals allows us to really target the need and a strategy's progress. How many times do we hear of a great new thing, say we are going to try it, and a year later sit back and say, well, that didn't work. Often it's because it was designed for a completely different purpose than what we had intended. By looking at the progress we are making during the strategy, we can make tweaks along the way and corrections. Database decision-making is essential for CCOT teams as it enhances the effectiveness, efficiency, and accountability of the team's actions. It ensures that decisions are based on evidence and complemented with observations and team knowledge to lead to better outcomes for students with disabilities as they transition into adulthood. Without the data, we don't know if we're starting in the right place, if we're tracking the main problem, or if what we're doing is actually making a difference. We've built this data tab here to really guide teams through the most important data aspects that they should be discussing. The first tab is the interagency collaboration and communication. This tab here really shows what the team needs to be made up of. And we're going to ask each facilitator prior to the CBE event to come in and complete just the data portions. Do not complete the reflection or the call to action sections. Just fill in the data portions here. We will complete the reflection and the call to action at the actual event. When looking at these tabs, they all have a step-by-step direction that you can actually check off once it's completed. We ask that you enter the school year first because this information will not save without the school year. Then look at how many members consistently attend the CCOT meetings. How many members attend CCOT meetings occasionally? How often does your CCOT meet? How many of your districts have educator representation on the team? How many agency and organization representatives are on the team? How many business representatives are on the team? How many youth and family representatives are on the team? And whether or not your CCOT has a co-created mission vision statement or an essential intent. Once you've completed that chart, we ask you to come down to the next one, and you're just going to complete the first 4 areas here. Again, the school year. And then we want to know if the CCOT team maintains a list of services offered by the school districts, service systems, and community-based organizations. And is that list shared? Do all members have access to that list? Does the CCOT team have an established method to communicate the opportunities for services, supports, and resources with districts, service systems, and community-based organizations? So do you have a mechanism in place where you share out events that you're hosting, where you share out results? What are your successes? How do you share that with the community? Then the last question is, does the CCOT team have an established method to communicate with individual team members' administration? For example, do you share out the scheduling, travel, and resource allocation? So if I'm an educator on the CCOT team, it's very important that my administration receives updates that say, here's something that we did, here were the results of it. This is our next meeting, so that your administrator knows that you may be out of the office at that time, or if they need to get a sub for your classroom. It's very important that we keep administration up to date of what is going on and our successes so that they can get the buy-in with our group as well. The next tab we want to address is the post-school outcomes, indicator 14. We're going to ask that you go through this. There is a video that shows how to use this interactive map. The second bullet point here shows the post-school outcomes interactive map. You're going to click on this, and it's going to bring you directly to the interactive map. If you scroll down on the left-hand side here, you'll see that it's by LEA or by county. You want to focus on the county. So if I look at higher education by county, I'm going to X out of that, and I'm going to click on the county that I want. This is going to bring up a box that shows you all of the information that you will need for that tab on the CTIP. So if I look at higher education for Walworth County is at 23%. Competitive employment is at 50%. Other post-secondary 4%. Other employment 8%. And not meeting indicator 14 criteria is at 15%. I'm going to take those numbers, go back to the CTIP, and you can see the boxes that correspond with that data. You're going to put those percentages in here. Do not fill out the reflection or the call to action. This will automatically save once you put the school year in. And you can see if I put the school year in, it'll say saved underneath. And then I can put in my numbers here. If it was 20% based on these numbers here, and just go right across the table. That will complete your data entry for the indicator 14 tab. The next tab over is the transition planning indicator 13. Each school district is able to get this information, but it's difficult to get it at a county level. That needs to be requested from TIG. For this capacity building event, Pam and I and other TIG staff will have this pre-filled out for you. You will not have to pull this information prior. It will be ready for you at the event. We will fill out all 3 charts here, but I do ask that you come prepared, ready to discuss it and complete the reflection and call to action items. The graduation, dropout, and career and technical education. This also has a video and a worksheet that you can download. However, this is a lot of manipulation on the WISE- website through the Department of Public Instruction. And the TIG team will also have this information pre-filled for you, so you do not have to take the time to go into that. If you would like to learn how, please feel free to reach out to me after the event and we can go through that. Otherwise, it will be pre-filled. Again, please come ready to discuss the reflection and call to action items. The next tab over is the county labor market information. This helps you identify possible businesses within the area that could align to some of your students' goals and interests within their transition services. There is a video that explains the entire website, the Wisconomy video. I'm going to ask you to come down and I want you to answer the 3 questions on the bottom here. Where are these current jobs, or where are the current job openings within your community? What jobs have higher than average wages? And what are the hottest jobs within your area? Do not answer the reflection or the call to action. There are several reports on the Wisconomy website that you can download. By doing that, you can then upload them here so that the entire team can view them, or you can enter the URL and upload it. Again, please do not forget to put in the year. Going over to the Wisconomy website, there is a dashboards tab here. This is going to be the most important information that you have. So if I click on dashboards, the first thing I want to view is the hot jobs, which is one of our questions. If I view that, it's automatically going to bring up Wisconsin 50 hot jobs. If you scroll up, you can select the area that you are in. I'm going to select WGA 1, and there is an area on the Wisconsin website where you can search your county to see which area you are in. I'm going to click Go, and it's going to bring up a downloadable PDF that you can then upload into your CTIP. Few things I want to point out here is this is going to show the hot jobs in your area. So within the Southeast District 1, I've got nurse practitioners, software developers and software quality assurance analysts and testers, and general and operation managers. What's really nice about this is we don't expect a high school graduate to get a job as a nurse practitioner. This shows the pathway up to that. So the CNAs that are graduating high school, we can do home and healthcare personal care aides. Then they can go on to get their LPN, and then their RN, and then their nurse practitioner. It gives a clear pathway from high school on up. If we scroll to the second page, this gives us our hottest jobs by occupational groups. So we can see here, here's the general and operation managers. You can see the education needed for it. You can see how many openings are normally within your county. And you can see the median wage. The median wage can also help you with what are the high paying jobs that you have. Again, this can be uploaded right into this tab so that everybody has access to it. If I come back here to the dashboards, I can also take a look at employer searches. This is a nice tool to have because it tells you exactly what employers are in your area and who is looking for individuals to fill positions. I can come up here and I can pick my area. So I can pick a county. Let's pick Barron County. I'm going to scroll down and hit apply. And click out of that. If I have a lot of students that are looking at going into agriculture, forestry, and fishing, it's going to bring up a list of employers within my area that offer that. These may be employers that you can reach out to for job shadows, for internships, or to even join your CCOT team with a lot of information for students like that. This information will help you complete these tabs here, the 3 boxes. Feel free to explore Wisconsin a little bit more. It has a lot of information on it. Share the information, and like I said, you can reach out to some of those employers within your area. The team level data and the CCOT events, you do not need to complete at this time. We'll go through that more at the capacity building event. The last tab is the common data findings that we will have greater discussion on, but this tab allows you to think back to all of these different tabs and really pull that information together to make a complete picture on your community there. This will be the data portion. If you have any questions on completing that data, please reach out to Pam and I. And again, you will be completing the interagency collaboration, the post-school outcomes, and the county labor market information. Transition Planning Indicator 13 and the Graduation Dropout and Career and Technical Education will be completed by TIG members for you. And then I'm going to turn it over to Pam. Pam, you're on mute. I apologize.
Thank you. The Wisconsin Community on Transition, also known as the WICOT, was created to make informed decisions regarding transition issues and sustain transition practices that build capacity and lead to positive post-school outcomes for individuals with disabilities. This team provides professional development opportunities and serves as liaisons to enhance the ability to collaborate and form practices statewide. The YCOT will serve as liaisons to all CCOTs who choose to engage in the Community Transition Innovation Planning online tool. A liaison will be assigned to each CCOT who has a CTIP and will reach out to the CCOT facilitators to provide guidance throughout this process. YCOT liaisons will be assigned to each CCOT prior to the capacity building event. You will meet your liaison at the CCOT Facilitator Networking session at the capacity building event. You can expect your liaison to provide troubleshooting, technical assistance, and seek answers to any questions that you have and will provide ongoing support. Please remember, though, that the liaisons are also learning this tool as well. So patience will be important as we roll out this online tool together. If you have any questions regarding the tool or data prior to our event, please contact myself or Lisa. We thank you for everything you do and for attending this recording and watching this recording today. You are doing amazing things and we appreciate you.